the meeting to order. Rick, do I need to read the remote attendance thing?
We have been. I don't know that I haven't seen anything that says that we have to, but we have been.
I'll do it just because we've got to be consistent. Pursuant to State Executive Order 2020-07 and 2020-18, which temporarily suspend the in-person presence requirements and eliminate the limitations on remote access of the Illinois Open Meetings Act due to COVID-19 pandemic. The board is not requiring physical attendance at the meeting and will allow all board members to attend the meeting remotely and fully participate remotely. Okay, so I need, the first order is to get the approval of the agenda, unless Rick, you have something. Anybody else have anything on there that they want to change?
Nope.
Okay, well, I will entertain a motion to accept or to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll move.
Oh. And I don't see,
And Susan?
never mind, I see it. The city librarian performance evaluation. Okay,
Yep, and then old
You got it.
business.
It's on there. It's on page 2.
okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye. Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, the number 3 are the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to take a look at the minutes?
Mhm.
Any additions,
Yeah.
corrections, or deletions?
I didn't see anything.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Then hearing none, I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other conversation we need to have about that? All those in favor?
Yes.
But we do need to do a voice vote for everything. I'm sorry. That is
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
We
sorry.
were-
Okay.
Did on the first one.
Oh, should we go back to the approval of the agenda?
I think
There's only 3 of us here, so.
It's just the 3 of us. So, okay.
But technically, that's what they said in the order, in the executive order, that all votes have to be,
Roll call.
roll call.
Okay. So let's go back to the approval of the agenda. Samantha,
Yes.
Susan?
yes.
Yes. That motion, or that passes. On the minutes, Samantha,
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. On to public comments. Rick?
There are none.
There are none. Okay. Is there any written communication to the public, from the public?
No.
Nothing other than what we responded to via email.
Okay. Then we're on to 6, new business, personnel updates.
So first, I want to say congratulations to Betty Jo. She has been promoted to administrative aide part-time. She's been a assistant administrative aide, and she has been promoted to administrative aide effective Monday. So congratulations, and
Congratulations.
well
Thank you.
we have reopened the search for secretary. We had a good pool of candidates. We had one great candidate to whom I offered the job. Money wasn't right. We couldn't come to terms there. So, and although all of the other candidates had strengths, I didn't think any of them were the right fit. So we are starting over. And that has officially been reopened. It should be in the paper today. And we'll have a couple of other promotions coming up in the near term. And I want to point out some anniversaries. Janet Denton, 23 years. Julie Martin, 21 years. And who's the other one? I think it's, one second.
Rick, the minutes reminded me, did you hire a social worker yet, or?
Well, yeah, let me get to that in just yeah, the other one is Lorraine MacArthur, and she's got 19 years. And with Janet Denton, it's actually, she it says 23 years, but she left for a couple years. She actually started back in the 80s, I believe. So she's, if you look at that, she's well over 30 years. So we have, as far as the social worker goes, we've got the funding. So the funding is going to come from the Macon County Mental Health Board. We have the social worker. We've just got some contractual stuff to iron out, and that is where we're at right now. We could probably start next week, but if we're closed, she may not be able to meet the deliverables that the mental health board is asking for. So we may wait until we open back up. So that's just more of a strategic thing than anything else. But it's just some details in the contract is going back, both contracts. So there's a contract between the library and the social worker, and between the library and the mental health board, and that's the one that we're at now. That we've got everything worked out with the social worker. So, and that will be Jessica Hill, who was our intern and who basically designed the job, wrote the grant, all that stuff. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. On to the adult computer use and internet access policy.
So the only change that we really recommend here in the second paragraph under, should I share the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Everybody see it?
Yes.
So in this paragraph, where we say use of library's computers requires a library card in good standing. So that's less than $25 in fines. One, we don't have fines anymore from Decatur Public Library. Visitors from outside Decatur may be granted access to the library's computer resources upon presentation of acceptable identification. So what we do, what is practice there is, it's actually easier to use our computers if you're not from Decatur, or if you just tell us you're not from Decatur. But our practice is also that if you don't have a library card, you got to get one. So we actually make it easier on visitors than we do on our own citizens. Now, I would like us to consider a couple of things here. Is this, do we want to set that there, and do we want to force somebody to have a card? My recommendation is that anybody that can present us with ID should be able to use the computers. Now, if you've got a library card, you can just log yourself in under normal circumstances, not during a pandemic, but you can just log yourself in. But but anybody with an ID will log you in. So it's two things. I'd like to not require a library card, and second, I'd like us to consider either lowering this bar or eliminating it. And I've gone back and forth on this for 6 years, but I think in these times, maybe the way that they get the money to pay the library what they owe them is to find a job, and that might be through the use of a computer. So I'm just wondering if that's a useful thing for us to have at all. We're making changes to increase access. Maybe that is one we should consider. If nothing else, I would recommend we lower it at least. It's $10 to check out a book. So if you're over $10, you've got to at least get it down to under 10. Maybe this policy should at least reflect that. So that's where I am. I don't want to require a library card. If it was a program, if we're having a program, we don't check your library card at the door. You can come, just come in and enjoy the program. I think it should be the same for computer use.
I agree. I mean, I would say no fine. Like, I don't care about fines. We don't have like a line for access to our computers. So I don't see how we're just limiting access by imposing a financial, barrier. So like you said, especially in these times, like I don't see, I would remove that, and I would also make it anybody available. Anybody can use the computers.
So, and another thing that would be a piece of information that would be good for you guys to know for this discussion is that, if you owe us over $25 for long enough, you're turned over to collection. If the collection agency can't get the money, we're not gonna get it either, So you could argue that, then they shouldn't be able to use the computer. And I've been back and forth on this. I've been in that camp, but I think that right now that getting people access to the internet is probably more important than ever. So,
Well, I have one question about that. Is there another reason that we asked for a library card to use the computer? And what I mean by that is, if there is something that they look up on the computer, or there is damage to the computer or something like that, is that not a way that we can trace back and say this person used it then?
nobody can do it without identification. So if you don't have a library card, you have to come to the desk and show us your ID, and we put your name down.
Okay.
So yeah, that's absolutely correct. But it's just really been a way to get more people to get library cards, as far as I can see. There's the incentive to do it with a library card is you don't have to go to the staff member and get help logging in. You can just go sit down and log yourself in with your card. So there's still an incentive to do that. But
Yeah.
I was going to say, does the staff know that if somebody says, well, I have a driver's license, and they say, well, let me help you get a library card, they know to do that, correct?
yeah, that's right. And what that leads to sometimes is some frustration, because getting a library card takes 10 or 15 minutes. Somebody's like, look, I'm in a hurry. I just want to check my email.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but if you're from out of town, we're like, okay, that's fine. But if you're from Decatur, we're saying, no, you got to get a card first.
100%. Yeah. I mean, because I've been behind those people who have to get a library card. So I'm like,
Oh, so it's about you, Samantha. Okay.
yeah. Yep. It's about me. Yep. No, I can understand the frustration of someone who they just want to check their email, like you said.
Yeah. I think we're all in agreement.
Okay. I'll make a motion.
I'll drop the language, and unless you want to tell me what you think the language should be right now, but I'll drop language to reflect that otherwise, if you just want to let me do it.
I don't have any.
We do have an action here, correct?
Yes.
So can Samantha make a motion subject to your revision?
Yeah. We'll just recommend we'll recommend the policy to the full board, pending that additional language. With that additional language, not pending.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll just forward that when I get it written up to the committee in advance. And if somebody wants to change that before the full board meeting, just if the language that I send isn't accurate enough, we'll have some back and forth.
So Susan, do you want a second or change it?
I'm sorry, my phone is going off and on, and I'm having to click back on. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, we are making the motion. We have to make a motion, correct?
I made the motion.
Okay. And Susan?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, so all those in favor, Samantha?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Yes. So motion passes. On to the next thing, which is the sexual harassment and retaliation policy.
I'm going to recommend that on the next two items that we punt. Chris Sedillo, our attorney, believes that our sexual harassment policy is just fine. But he's going to double check, but he thinks it's completely fine. He said there's been some minor revisions, but he thinks that they only apply to elected officials, which of course is none of us. So, and it's tied to the other policy, because that is a city policy that this board adopted as library policy a few years ago. It also has a sexual harassment policy in it, et cetera. But the bigger issue is that the city has updated that policy since then. So what Chris is, recommended in the email to me was that we probably need to have our own policy that covers other types of harassment and workplace violence and retaliation. So we'll get to work on that. So my recommendation is that we table these two for the time being.
Okay. Do we have to make a motion for that, or?
I'll move to table them. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second.
All those in favor, Samantha,
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Yes, that motion passes. Okay, the meeting schedule. Agenda? Or the meeting schedule.
Yeah, that's just a formality, unless you guys want to change the way, the way that you guys meet. Those are the first Thursdays of the next 12 months. And by law, that has to be adopted. And you can do the final adoption on this, I believe. And then we have to post it.
Is everybody okay with that? The time?
Yeah, as long as there's no holidays, like the Labor Day holiday. I don't know when it is,
On
but we looked
Thursday?
at holidays.
It was a Monday.
It is
Labor-
Monday. Okay.
Yeah, it's always, okay.
I know, but it's just like we have had it on holidays before. Maybe not this one.
July is the only possible one for this committee, I believe.
Oh, for July 4th, perhaps.
Or January 1st. New Year's Day and 4th of July are the only two possibilities.
But we can reschedule those if that falls.
Right. But that didn't happen this year.
But
so.
that didn't happen. Okay. I couldn't remember all the holidays at this point. So, okay. Yeah. Then
Susan or Samantha, would you like to make a motion?
Oh, I'll move that we adopt this calendar for our PPPR meetings for
Okay.
2022.
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, Samantha,
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Is there other for discussion?
I don't have any.
Don't have another.
Okay. All right, let's go on to 7, which is old business, the art and artifacts display policy.
Yeah, so I brought this to you guys last month, and I brought you guys a previous version. What I brought you guys was not the most up-to-date version. This is the most up-to-date version. Let me share my screen.
Got it.
So in 2017, it was reworked to get a little more
Up to date.
specific about what kind of artwork would be accepted, and what were the criteria for it, and it just added a lot more detail. Again, it comes up extremely rarely. We had about a month ago, someone wanted to donate a painting. And I said that, I'd be happy to bring it before the board. And that was the last I heard about it.
You've only had one of these, maybe like 2, maybe since I've been here.
And this was important too, because we, the upkeep of it, and that we're not going to do major conservation, even though it is our responsibility, and that we can remove it.
So is there anything else that you want to
Yeah, is there anything
add
that
or
we need to-
remove?
No, I'm happy with it the way it is. I I have no quarrels with it at all. Again, it's something that almost never comes up, but actually this one adds some detail that I think protects the library more than the version that I put in front of you erroneously last month or 2 months ago.
Okay. And I'll recommend we send it to the full board. That's my motion.
Susan?
I'll second.
I can second, I guess, right?
I'll second.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor, Samantha?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. On to pandemic service levels.
So, Samantha and I talked a little bit, and a lot of this is related to the email that you guys received from a patron that expressed frustration, dissatisfaction with having to get curbside rather than being able to come in. And Samantha and I had some back and forth, and I thought maybe it's just best to put it in front of this committee to discuss and see if you think it's time to have a full board meeting to look at this again. What got lost in a kind of a big news day yesterday was that Governor Pritzker indicated that he may be moving us from the level 3 medications down to 1, I think, which is more open.
Okay. Yeah.
Very near
Well,
future.
yeah, I think it's time. I think the only thing that's closed are restaurants, and our rolling levels at the health department are very low. I mean, they're down in the 6s to 5s. So within reason and, with care, I think it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
so-
we were just we didn't want to do anything. I mean, at least Rick and I were kind of talking like, we didn't want to do anything like right after right during the holidays, because, it was just, who knows, and so that was kind of what Pritzker was saying, that he would look at it as of the 15th, because then that's the normal quarantine time between New Year's and, so, I mean, if we want to have a board meeting, if you guys think we should have a board meeting, we could have one, to actually talk about reopening fully, because I mean, you're just half the board at this point. So
Well, 15th is on a Friday. I mean, if you guys, think a full board special meeting is in order, and you want to wait till mid-month to see if there's a New Year's Eve bump, the 15th is on a Friday, 18th is a Monday. Your regularly scheduled meeting is the 21st. Or we could call a full special meeting at any time before that also. I mean, my thinking on this has been back and forth, but I think that with the caveats of we're going to reduce computer usage. We're not going to have any other seating. We're not having meetings or programs. I just don't think we're going to be a focal point of spread. People are just coming in and getting it and going. I just don't think we're going to be a focal point of spread. Now,
not in comparison to other shopping.
right. That said, I would also think that I would like to keep the hours shortened. At least we would need at least a 30-day notice on that because of our contract with the union. They have to have a 30-day notice for any change to their schedule. And I think that we'd have to have a couple of days at least to get the word out to the newspapers and the public and everything. But I don't think there's any real super sentiment amongst staff that boy, it's too dangerous. I think that, and I just, if we were having programs, if we were having meetings, a different story, but we're not doing that stuff. So,
And I mean, it really did help. I mean, I don't know how much we helped, but I mean, as soon as it closed down, as soon as the city closed down, I mean, our cases went down. So, I mean, I can't, I feel like we made the right decision, but at this point, because like what Michael said, I mean, our rates are manageable. I mean, they're not good. Anything over 0 is good, not good. So, but yeah, I mean, we could call a special meeting for next week and then see what everybody has to say.
Mhm.
And because I mean, we have our finance and property meeting on Wednesday. So
Yeah,
Good.
if you want
Yes,
to, I mean,
Thursday.
we could do, and Samantha, we offline can just discuss when to do the special meeting. But if you guys think it's time to have that further discussion,
I do.
I'm certainly okay with it.
I
yeah,
think the sooner the better. I mean, really, we need to have a plan to roll it out. We don't want to wait another month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
no, I mean, like we have to have 2 days
Mhm.
like notice. So I mean,
Yeah, actually, for a special meeting, you have some leeway, but they still encourage the 48 hours. But I think Monday is. I mean, if you guys are okay with Monday, I can certainly call it and send out the notice as soon as we're done here.
I would say Monday is fine.
I agree.
Let's get it on there. We can talk about it, and I think we've done a great job. I mean, like as far as getting the numbers down. So, like
Yep.
in general. So
Really, it's our zone that's keeping us where we are. It's actually not Macon County. It's the zone that we're
Yeah.
in.
it was just hard to watch like those numbers be over 100. Considering our population, like that was what was scary. So.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Then Rick, we'll look for that notification from you on email. Okay. And
Yep.
we don't do anything with that, correct?
What's that?
We don't need to do anything with that. You're just.
Send it out.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Susan, city librarian performance evaluation.
Yes, I'm trying to find that. Oh, here we are. Okay, right. Oh, so you should have received an attachment from Rick that shows the final of what we are proposing, Michael and I, for
Yeah.
the evaluation for city librarians. So I think what this committee has to do we have to approve it to go to board, or
We
do we-
would, I don't know. I would say we'd recommend the process. So, I mean, Susan, if you have a recommendation on, what time of year we're going to do this, I think that was also something we wanted to confirm so that we have
Yeah.
something on the board.
about that a little bit? I mean, certainly we can put it in place that we do it by end of year. I think this worked out kind of well, maybe to have it ready to go to the full board, after the first PPPR meeting in January or something. I mean, I don't, it seemed like it worked out really well this way, even though, ideally you would say by the end of the year, but there's so much going on. At least there was this year, that, I don't know. I'm thinking if we just say it, this form should go to the board, the first board meeting in January, and to be completed and sent back to whoever is in charge of the process by, I don't know, a week from that date or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have said. So,
Mhm. And then, Michael and I can kind of collate it a little bit, and then I think we talked about that. Ideally, I would think that the board president and perhaps someone from the committee would meet with Rick, but I think you expressed that you did not know if that was possible because of too many people meeting with him or something.
no, it can be 2 people. So it could be like myself and you, but it
Okay.
can't be all 3 of us.
Okay. So it can be you and I meet with Rick. Okay. So I think there needs to be 2 people, just, whether it's
To
like
hold
Mike.
the tissues, and one to hold the tissue box and the other one. Is that it?
Yeah,
So she can say like, you're going a little too easy on him. Like maybe you should turn the screws.
and we do have a recommendation for, a salary change, but so perhaps at the board meeting, we maybe then excuse Rick for a few minutes and discuss this topic and then.
Yes.
Okay.
We do that after the evaluation though, right?
I was gonna say it's after the process, right after he receives the evaluation.
Robert, you're my guru there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've just sat through them before, and I think Michael was in on the last one we did, where we had a closed session during
Right.
that meeting where the director stepped out, and I just came back in basically to record the tally.
Mhm.
Well, the board members actually discussed, the evaluation. And so it's got to be recorded still, of course. And then afterwards, and I have a copy of the last letter that we sent to the city for the recommendation for salary increase, because that's got to be done and sent to the city. And it's usually, and I can send you the language for that.
Okay.
Can you clarify what you mean by tally, Robert? Because of course they can't.
Well, not really tally, just if there'll be a discussion. Actually, the vote will be outside of the closed session. There will be a sort of a summary of what was discussed in the closed session, and then actually the vote will come outside of the closed session, saying, we have voted to do this or to do that, and it'll be outside of the closed session. So that's pretty much it, I guess.
So the process is you get the evaluation. We fill
Right.
the evaluation in a week. The next meeting, correct, is after everything has been collated. We make a recommendation, and we go into closed session and talk about it, and then come out,
Right.
and then it's public knowledge. Or
And then it would it be backdated, or is that based on when what we decide?
Well,
That's
what we have on the last session is it was it was backdated, I think, to the last raise
Yeah.
or something like that. So it was.
I know it was backdated.
Yeah, it was effective. Like, for example, January, July, whatever date the board comes up with, it's backdated to that day, and so that way they'll calculate the raise how it should have been. It'll be backdated.
That's on the right timeline.
Right.
But it's a board decision. It's not something that
Right.
you guys are obligated to. There's no date at which that you have to say,
Right.
well, the city librarian's salary has to be adjusted by this date. That's a board decision.
Right.
Right, and that's something that we would discuss.
Yeah, and that's fine. I just wanted to double check.
And the questions that I received, before is in the past have been, when was the last raise and things like that. So.
Mhm.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, so we will get those and proceed accordingly.
Okay, and then
Okay.
so
Is there an action? I mean, what is our action on this, Rick? To approve this to the board to use as measure?
That's what I assumed, but I don't know if that's ever been done in the past, to my recollection. It's just been put in front of me. This is the most open this part has ever been. So
Mhm.
Okay. Why don't we go ahead and make a motion that we're going to make a recommendation from the PPPR committee to the full board that this is the measure that we will use for Rick's evaluation. Is that fair?
No. I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor, Samantha,
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay. Number 4, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Is that Robert?
yes,
Yes.
he's got some news on some movement.
Okay, great.
Right. We recently had and Samantha said in some of that, We had one of the representatives from ALA, American Library Association, who does, they do a lot of diversity trainings and seminars. And so, and I was talking to Rick this morning. We waited for a while for the Deetta Jones and to get back with us. And, you know, I really waited, you know, because they had such a good presentation, and then we decided it was time to move on. And so we moved to the American Library Association, and they have been doing a lot of work with the diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they got someone, you know, after a few emails, we have someone right away willing to give us a presentation. And I thought she did a really good job of answering the questions. And I'm not sure, you know, Samantha, if you want to chime in, feel free. So she did, you know, after the meeting, she sent the, it was a sort of a presentation and proposal to us. And I've shared that with, I think Samantha, Rick, and Carl. I can share it with the rest of the board. And actually, it's sort of a, it can be tailored, you know, if need be. Christina, that's her name, Christina Fuller. She's very open, you know, and she's really part of her whole way of dealing with the training is it depends on how the library takes to the training and how it works. You know, she wants to come in. Part of it is coming in and getting to know the staff, and also, you know, having surveys with the staff and finding out our culture right now. And after finding out our culture, you know, and sort of getting us to know our culture, and just that type of consulting, and also finding out about the community. And I think some of those things we can help her with, because we have some data already about, you know, who we are and what we have in-house as far as, you know, looking at some of the things that she might want. We've done that before. So I think we're just basically going to be looking at if we want to look at this person, do we want to do a request for information and maybe go out to a couple more consultants? I think I was pretty well, you know, sold on her, but I don't know what how Samantha feels, how the rest of the diversity group feels. They were very positive, the ones that attended the conference. And we do have the Zoom meeting recorded if you guys want to listen to the Zoom meeting. But I can send that proposal out to the rest of the board, share it with the board, or if Rick wants to do that, that's fine.
What do you see as the next step, Robert? You know, when we started this, what I intentionally decided not to be a part of the
Right.
diversity committee, and my goal was to, instead of tell what needs to happen, my goal is to listen and hear what needs to happen. And I appreciate the work that you and the committee have put in on this. And we've talked to a couple of consultants now. What do you think? What do you think is the next step? Because I know there are a lot of options that this particular consultant gave us.
Well, I think the next step is deciding, you know, if we want to, number one, if we want to listen to anyone else, if there's someone else we want to listen to, do we want to, you know, maybe say, okay, let's hear a couple more voices. That's one step. The other step is maybe evaluate the proposal that's in front of us and say, is this something that seems like, you know, maybe we want to go ahead and go forward, because she does have, you know, she has the cred. She has the ALA backing. She's worked with libraries. It's not new to her. She had a pretty nice resume. So I think that's, you know, that's the next step. And I've actually talked with, I sent an email out to Karen Lyons, who was the Evanston Public Library CEO, and she's going to get back with me and kind of tell me about their process and what their costs look like. That's what our conversation is going to be about. So maybe with that, we can kind of tell, you know, how's this price? Is this a good price? Is this maybe not a, you know, is it too steep or what? So next step is to evaluate the proposal and maybe the committee decide, do we need to go back out And after that, just contacting Christina and saying, you know, if we decide to go with her and say, okay, where do we go from here? Where do we start? You know, how do we start the meetings? You know, what kind of, how do we do the payment part of it, you know, and things like that. And so, because we'll have to make sure we get all of the staff kind of on the same schedule and then the board members on the same schedule. So we don't have too many meetings, you know, we want to kind of have as few many meetings as we can, you know, saying the same thing. So I think that's kind of our next step.
I think it practical, you know, you might not even need to have the committee meet, but just feel them out and see if they think you need to talk to anybody else. You've talked to two.
Right.
There's no legal requirement to do an RFP for professional services. It's not a bad practice,
Right.
But you know, you're going to get a ton of them for this, I think.
Well,
It'd be
that's
a
right.
big job to sort through. You've talked to two. This one is ALA approved. So I would feel out your committee and see if they're satisfied with this consultant, then look at that proposal and say, do we want to take it wholesale? Do we want to take it, you know, a la carte? Is there a place to start? And then,
Right.
And then send your recommendations on to me, and I'll,
Right.
if necessary, consult with the board, and we'll make our decision. I'm completely, if you guys are satisfied with it, and I've heard a couple other committee members say they thought it was just a really positive presentation, I'm ready to go.
I just really liked her as a human. Like she's just like, she was very like, not like she knew what she was talking about, but she also was like a human and down to earth kind of thing. So it wasn't, and professional. So, I mean, I guess my only question was like you said, talking to Karen from the Evanston Library, that's the only thing that I would like before I would say like 100% yes. Like, I'm just curious what they paid for the, you know,
Right.
a similar type service. And like you said, like a la carte or, because I mean, this is important and it's one of, you know.
Checking references is always a good idea.
Yeah.
Right. And I was, you know, and I'm not sure, you know, one of the questions in my mind is, since, you know, we are looking at the possibility of us looking at a strategic plan pretty soon, is this something that do we want her to have like some sort of a presentation to the board, you know, before we get kind of rolling on things? If she is the way we go, do we want her to come in and, you know, maybe questions that the board may want to ask her, you know, and we've done that in the past where we've brought vendors or presenters in and, you know, maybe a 15-minute slot or whatever and say, you know, any question that the board may have or, you know.
That's definitely a good point.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
I think Carl liked her too. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Carl he was very pumped about it. I was very excited. Yeah.
Well, I think we roll with your recommendation. Just like you said, check out the cost and maybe references and set up something. I don't know when we would do it, what meeting we would do it at, but if it's the next meeting or after you find that stuff out, then we schedule something for her to come.
she seemed pretty responsive. So might be next meeting.
And I really enjoyed her being responsive. You know, I was glad about that. She was back with us on that Monday or Tuesday. She got us the information. So
Yep.
that was
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Well, I trust your judgment.
Yeah.
Okey-dokey. So is there any other discussion?
I
And
just want to make you aware of something else I'm going to put in front that's policy related that I'm going to put in front of the full board. I just didn't, it hadn't crossed my radar soon enough to get it on this. But there is you guys passed a policy in June, essentially just to put the stamp on I don't have it to hand here, but essentially put the stamp of your approval on the legislation that was passed in Washington about emergency paid sick leave for COVID. Well, that sunset on December 31st. But there was a provision in the most recent COVID relief bill that said, although it's not in there, individual businesses can pass something like that. Not like we needed the federal government's permission, but there's nothing in the latest bill. So there is no emergency paid sick leave. What it was, up to 80 hours for a full-time employee for COVID-related sick leave that they can use even before using their own sick leave. We've only had one person to whom it applied. If you can work, because if you can work from home, you should. So I will have in front of you a proposal to extend that through June 30th. I think we want to give it. I don't think we ever want to inadvertently give somebody incentive to not tell us they have COVID and come to work. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
that sounds good.
Sounds fine.
Does anybody else have anything to discuss? If not, I'm going to entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Susan?
Yes.
Okay, in favor? Samantha?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Yes. All right, guys, we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you for making